Welcome to the Polterguys podcast.
This is season 1, episode 2, and today we're going to look at our investigation at the Armley Mills.
So, let's get into it.
So this investigation actually got started as a gift. It was a present from my partner for my birthday, actually. And it was booked for Halloween, the 31st of October.
It was, and you and Dina had tickets booked online. And I decided that I was going to pay on the door on arrival, so that they didn't have any of my information from the booking and that they couldn't use it on the night, as this was our chance to disprove it all and prove it all wrong. So I think that was the best.
Yeah, going into this decision. As skeptics, Ben had the foresight to think, I don't want them to have any of my details. And just a little bit of background information. Ben's not on most social media platforms. Not a lot of information about him or his life is actually out there for anyone to obtain, and use that during a staged investigation to try make him believe. Which sort of added to this evening.
Yeah. So it was booked with a group, Paranormal UK, wasn't it? And I'd actually never heard about them before. Had you?
No, but incidentally, a friend of mine does some work with them, and it just happened to be a bit of a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. And it was actually my first ever visit to the Armley Mills, even though I live in Leeds. So it was interesting just to see the building in general.
I'd been before with, I think it was primary school actually, as a working museum. We went and we all dressed as in Victorian attire and lived the day as a child would then. There's actually classrooms there, and we did a little bit of work in their classrooms, went around some of the milling machines and spent the day as a Victorian child would. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. So I guess we can start, or for me, we can start in the waiting room. And we was getting excited, and I think one of the things that I said to you is, I'm going to take a spirit home with me tonight.
He did. He jokingly says, I'm going to take a ghost home with me. And quite interesting.
I later regretted that. But yeah, I guess I was looking around the waiting room and seeing the other people that had booked onto the event, and I thought, not a lot of these look like your typical paranormal investigators that you'd see on these YouTube videos and things like that. So I was interested to see where the night was going to go, and the walk around was interesting. And what I was expecting or waiting for is to feel something that you would hear on these videos that people say that they feel or experience. I was waiting for a breeze or
cold shiver
or
just something randomly knocking over or moving.
Yeah, or a little tap or something. And during the walk around, I didn't have any of that, did you?
No, I didn't. No. I didn't feel a thing.
No. So after the walk around, they decided to split us into 2 groups, I think it was. And our group started in the upstairs room.
And just to mention, actually, the groups were about maybe 10 people big.
Yeah, 8 to 10.
And most of our group was actually people we know, because there was myself, there was Ben, Dina, my 2 nephews, Connor and Reese also came, and my friend Sarah as well. Yeah.
So we did fill up half of the group. But I guess when we started in the room upstairs, it was interesting to see the type of equipment that they had with them on the night, because I'd seen some of it on videos before, but I'd never seen it in person, and I thought it was quite interesting to see that. I think they had a Boo Bear or an EMF bear.
An EMF bear. An EMF bear it's a device that's put into a little teddy bear, and it detects EMF, electronic magnetic frequencies, and it actually works from a theremin, which is a musical instrument, and you can put your hand near it and it'll start to beep, or you could put an electrical device near it, like your telephone for instance, and it will beep. And these are said to detect spirit energy, so you could leave one in the middle of a room, for instance, and you can ask for it to be touched, and it'll start lighting up. These are not scientific instruments by any stretch of the imagination, because they can be manipulated and they can be faked. And one way to do this, if you wanted to fake it, I think some YouTubers do this, and some of the TV shows. You could use something like a two-way radio in your pocket. You could aim the antenna towards the device, trigger it, and it will set the device off. So if I'm ever watching a TV show about the paranormal or a YouTuber, I'm always looking to make sure everyone is in the shot and nobody's got their hands in their pockets, to try confirm that it is genuine interaction that they are getting.
Yeah. So that was one of the devices they had. They also had the K2 meters.
And a K2 is a very similar device. It does pick up EMF, but it has a little display on it, and the magnitude of the EMF goes from green into red.
Yeah.
And we've had some interesting stuff off those, but yeah,
we have.
They work in quite a similar way.
So they had set up a few of these devices around the room upstairs, and a part of the Paranormal Eye group, they had a medium with them.
Now, it actually wasn't advertised.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't advertised, was it, as a part of the session?
No.
But she just happened to come along on the night.
Yeah, there was a spiritual medium who was part of the group, and she wanted to start with a seance.
Yeah.
But it wasn't advertised that there was going to be a seance, actually.
Yeah. And in the YouTube videos that I watched prior to this, I didn't see a lot of the seance type of things, or a lot from mediums.
I don't think you see much on TV now, because of a lot of mediums I think are fake, and they do cold reading. We discussed a little bit this before, and a lot of it got debunked. It was very popular in the Victorian times, incidentally, but a lot of it got debunked as fakery and, just manipulating people.
Yeah.
But like we said previously, we have met a handful of people who do have these weird abilities, and you just cannot explain it.
Yeah, definitely. So it was interesting meeting this lady who was the medium, and interesting to see how she started the seance. And she started off with telling us to do what was called, or what she called, a light protection.
That's right.
And to envisage a bright light of any colour, your favourite colour if you would like, and just that you're surrounded by this light and protected by it. And that made me get on edge a little bit, I think.
It was a bit weird, a little bit uncomfortable, because at that stage we'd done nothing like this before.
No.
And it was a bit like, ooh, what's all this woo-woo about?
Yeah. Is it just to add to the theatrics?
Yes. Yeah.
So we started with that as we was in this circle, and we was round a big round table. And then she asked everyone to sit down on the table and to place our hands down. And the moment I placed my hands down, I felt a breeze over my knuckles on the right hand.
Just to say, it was Halloween, it was October. It was quite cold outside. There was no windows and doors open into this room. In fact, it was quite warm, because when we got there, everyone started taking the coats off.
Yeah.
And jackets, and stripping off a little bit, because it was so warm.
Yeah.
It was I think it was on the top floor of the building, so it was quite high up, being inside an old mill.
Yeah.
And it was very warm.
So at first I thought, I'm not going to say anything. That could just be any cold breeze, even though, like David said, there isn't any windows or anything open. In my mind, I was just explaining it away. And as she's carrying on her introduction into what she's about to do, and what she's about to show us, I then get a breeze over both hands, and it travels up my arms, and I get goosebumps all over my body. And at that moment, I just had the feeling like, I need to tell her, I need to say something. So I turned to her and I said, I need to stop you there, sorry. I said, I've just had this cold breeze over my hands and I've got full body goosebumps. As I've said that, the whole table had looked over my left shoulder, just pointed into the corner of the room and said, "That bear's going off, that bear's flashing." And I turn around and I see the bear flashing, and I think...
It was beeping as well.
Yeah.
It was beeping and flashing.
Yeah.
It was just over his shoulder. Not close enough that he could touch it. Probably 10 feet behind you.
Yeah, it was, I'd say 10 feet, yeah. And it was just so strange, and there was no one else apart of the group that was near the bear. They was at the other side of the room.
In fact, I don't think there was any other members of staff in the room at that time. I think there was just her conducting the seance. I don't think there was any other staff dotted around, because I sort of like looked round to see if someone could be setting it off somehow, and I don't think there was actually anybody there other than her.
No. And I think probably at that point, the rest of the people around the table might have thought we could be in on this.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the stories. When we were sat there, I actually thought some of the other people that we don't know who sat around here are probably going to think we're stooges and in on this, because some really weird stuff started to happen for us. And if it was the other way around, I'd be like, "Oh, they're in on this."
Yeah. So as I turned back around from seeing this bear flashing, the lady said,
She was called Jane.
She was called Jane.
Yeah.
So Jane said, you've brought a spirit with you tonight. And I turned and looked at David because of what I said earlier on, mentioning taking one home.
His face dropped a little
bit. And I didn't expect to be told I was bringing one with me. So my face dropped, like David said, and we just both looked at each other like, oh my gosh.
Ooh, okay.
And then she said it was my granddad, which for me was very interesting due to the vision I had when I was younger and seeing my granddad, even though I'd never met him. And I just thought, what a coincidence. At the time, I thought, what a coincidence that she's mentioned granddad. But still, I was skeptic because...
Obviously, a lot of people now, the grandparents have passed away, so it is an easy target.
Yeah.
But she couldn't have known for definite that he'd passed away. And Ben is quite young. He's quite a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility he could have been alive. And it was just a weird coincidence that it tied in with what he'd experienced previously.
So she continued to tell me that my granddad had messages for me and that he was trying to share these messages with me. She did tell me a few things that I couldn't really confirm because, like I said, my granddad had passed away before I was born, so I didn't know these things about him. I think some of them resonated with you.
They did.
I think, yeah.
There was some stuff that she said, and I was like, yeah. And it was the odd thing I was like, we're going to have to ask our mum about that.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, because some of it related to some stuff that obviously I couldn't remember or didn't know, but a lot of it was spot on.
It was. And then she carried on to say, he's given me a name.
And just to say, actually, just to interject there, she didn't ask Ben questions and went off his answers. She was just telling him stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, did you do this, or was it like this, as if it was a statement of fact, which was very strange because she wasn't reading his reaction or emotion. She was just telling him stuff. Yeah.
And I tried my hardest to keep a poker face as well, to not give anything away. But yeah, she didn't ask me anything to confirm. She was just giving me these messages. And she carried on to give us a name. And she said it begins with the letter M. And again, I turned.
It was a little take in the back because we were like, okay, where's this going?
Where's this going? And she actually said my mum's name, or our mum's name. And we were just so shocked at that point. And
it was actually the first she went M, and we sort of but didn't react other than like, oh, we didn't say anything. She just went, Marjorie. We were like, oh. And I think my nephews at the time were a bit like, oh, hang on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And just to also say, my mum's not on social media either.
No.
So there's no way she could have got that information. That she wouldn't have even known me and Ben were brothers.
No.
So she couldn't have got the information from me, and that information isn't even out there from me either.
But as a skeptic, I still my brain just said she's found that online somewhere. She must have done it. She can't have got that from a message from someone.
Yeah, I think our ego does that.
Yeah.
It goes, that can't be real. I've got to find a valid reason why that's happened, and she must have got the information somewhere.
Yeah.
Even though it's not there. when you sort of think it over, it's a bit like, it's weird.
And it was so strange. And those messages carried on for about 5-10 minutes, I'd say. And then she moved on to another gentleman who was sat around the table. Now, he had come along with his wife, and you could tell from the things he was saying and his reactions, his wife had dragged him along.
Yeah, from his demeanour, I think he'd actually been to the pub beforehand, and he thought he was a load of nonsense. He was quite tipsy. His wife was, she seemed sober. It seemed like he'd been to the pub and thought, come on, let's go do this.
Yeah. And he was a complete skeptic like us, and she passed messages on to him about his father.
She actually started. She turned around to him. She said, "I can see you're probably a bit of a skeptic, and you're here to support your wife. I can see your wife is sort of into this, but you're probably not." And he's like, "Yeah." And she says, "Just want to say to you, your father stood behind you," and he's laughing, saying he thought the same too.
Yep, she did. That's the first thing she said to him, and he did a little chuckle, and you could tell it was like, oh yeah.
It was a bit like
yeah. Until she carried on, and
he actually looked round at his wife.
Yeah.
Didn't he? And as if to say, "Have you said something here?"
Yeah, because she had told him quite a few things that related to him, and that resonated with him about his father.
She even described the way his father's kitchen was laid out, because it was a really unique shape. She described it all out, and she also described that he was stood behind him combing in his hair, and which pocket he got the comb from. And at that point, he was like, "Oh, how do you know that?" And he was like, "My wife must have told you this. You must have got this information from somewhere."
I remember the bit about the comb, and that's when he turned to his wife and said, "You've told her this. You've told her this." And she was adamant. She was like, "No, I've not.
He actually then he broke down and started crying.
He did. He became tearful because obviously whatever she was telling him had really stuck with him, and it really meant something. So
and now at that point, if that had happened first, I'd have been like, "Well, he's just a paid actor here." But because we'd started getting stuff, and then it was a bit more believable that what he was experiencing was also genuine from her because of what we just had.
Yeah. It added to what we just experienced as well. It made our experience more genuine, and the things that she was telling me. So I think that session didn't end with anybody else getting messages. It was mainly just me and him.
We was asked to call out, take it in turns and call out, and I was asking for some taps on the window and some other bits and pieces. Nothing really happened. Although that gentleman who broke down and started crying, obviously I don't know his name, I think he did leave after that. Yeah. I think his wife stayed, and I think it got too much for him, and I think he just left.
He did. He left after the seance.
I've just remembered actually. At one point, I was looking to the right-hand side, and the door was closed, but there's like a glass square in the door, and I thought I saw someone pop their head round, and I was sort of like looking. And then I was like, has anyone else seen that? I think someone's poking the head round, and I thought, is that a member of staff, or are my eyes playing tricks? Because it was low light.
Yeah.
The lights was off in the room, and there was a light on outside in the corridor. And I don't know if I was just turning my head and I thought I saw a shadow or something there, but I was like, I don't know.
And I actually remember at the time, the team said, oh, it could have been one of our members just checking in, and they radioed through.
Yes, I forgot about this. Yes, they did.
The members confirmed that they were all downstairs. No one was on that corridor.
Yeah, which to me added a layer of validation because they didn't just go, oh yeah, you might have seen something. It was like, no, let's check someone of the team hasn't been up to see where we are in the seance, and everyone was downstairs.
And the only other thing that happened during that seance is the bear that had flashed. When I got the cold breeze, it would flash.
We actually ended up calling this bear Ben's bear because it only ever went off
when I'd ask a question.
when Ben asked questions.
or when I'd say something. And it even continued to do that after she'd finished giving me my messages, and when the whole group was calling out, that bear would only flash when I said something, and I just thought, very strange.
As soon as it come back round to you to ask or call out, as soon as he started speaking, it was going off, and it was like, this is getting a little weird.
Yeah.
This is a little weird.
Yeah. And at that point, everyone definitely thought we was in on it, I think.
Yeah. Who do I invoice?
Yeah. So after the seance, they took us around into other rooms of the Armley Mills. I did a solo session with somebody else. Well, it was a duo session.
With Sarah.
With Sarah, yeah. Was it in the little outhouse or something on the side?
Yes, it was like a little house
Yeah.
where I'm guessing the manager probably lived. Who was managing the mill back in the day. And you sat in. We was in the corridor with some stairs, and you went in there with Sarah on your own to see if you experienced anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did.
No, we didn't, or I didn't. I don't know if Sarah did, but we didn't really hear anything, and nothing happened, and we didn't get no cold breezes in there. So we carried on, and they took us around the Armley Mills, and we got into one of the corridors, and they decided to show us table tipping.
Yes.
And some glass work. Now, for me, it was the first time I'd seen any of that. I hadn't seen it on the YouTube videos that I'd watched.
Yeah, me too. I'd not actually seen this technique before.
So, I guess as I was experiencing it live, I wasn't focusing on communicating, which we do now. Back then, I was focusing on how can this be manipulated.
I was doing the exact same.
Yeah.
Table tipping, if you're not aware of it, there's a little table with a glass on it, and everyone stands around and gently puts the fingertips on it, and you ask spirit to start moving the table. And now, having looked into this afterwards, I've seen tables doing this and almost levitating, and this has been debunked over and over. This, it can be really easily manipulated, and I was doing the same. As it started rocking, I was sort of like looking around thinking, who's doing this? How is this being done? Not could be a spirit. I was just trying to debunk it, like, this isn't real. Who's doing this?
Yeah. And at the time, the team actually let us, the members who had booked on, they let them start the table tipping, and nothing were happening.
Yes, because to show us how it worked, they sort of did it, and it was doing it, and we were like, okay. And then it was just us on there, and nothing happened, did it?
No.
It was like not even a slight move.
And then one of the members of the team said, let me come in and I'll get things going for you. And it started moving again, and it just made me question it a bit more.
A bit like, oh, now the member of the staff have come on, it's moving.
Yeah.
And then they pull away, and it's still moving with our little team on it. But it's like,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm still a bit skeptical about that one.
I am.
But knowing what we know now and how certain people can trigger certain things, it is a possibility.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that was genuine paranormal.
No.
Not 100%.
I wasn't. And even the glass work, which it was having a glass on the table, and essentially the glass is you're trying to get the glass to move by itself. The glass didn't move on the night.
No.
And even if it did, I would be skeptic. And I think, like you said, it's been proven of how it can be faked. So
just to say, yeah, that was popular in Victorian times, and it has been how it can be done has been vastly covered. So we won't cover much of that. But yeah.
So following the table tipping and the glass work, they decided to then show us human pendulum. Now, it's another thing I've never seen before.
Very interesting.
Now, that was more believable for me because it wasn't the team doing it. It was just two members. Now, it was a husband and wife. And the man had stood in the middle of the group. And
so what actually happened, just to go back a little step there, Ben, is we all stood around in a circle. I think we was holding hands.
I think so, yeah.
All the lights was turned off. This is in pretty much near pitch black, and we all close our eyes. A member of the team asks out and calls out to the spirit in the area to push someone forwards that they want to use as a communication device. So we all stood round for a minute or so, and he got pushed into the middle, or seemingly so, and it was quite a violent push. He sort of stumbled, and he could hear his feet clatter, and I opened my eyes, and he was like stumbling into the middle.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot that bit. I didn't know that he didn't just volunteer.
No,
he was pushed. I remember now
pushed.
you said that. He was
pushed.
So yeah.
Whether it was a member of the team pushing him, or he was an actor, we cannot say for certain on that.
Or whether it's just your mind thinking, expecting to be pushed because that's what you're told is going to happen, and whether he just stumbled forward. But he ended up in the middle of everyone, and the team said it's best if the questions come from someone close to you, so which is why his wife was asking the questions. And you can only ask yes or no questions, because the idea is the person in the middle will either tipple forward or tip backwards.
And what they actually did was they didn't determine which way was yes and which way was no. They stood there and asked him to close his eyes, and they asked Spirit to push him one way for yes, and he went backwards, and one way for no, and he went forwards. And he had his wife on one side, and there was a member of staff on the other, just with the hands out, just in case he gets pushed. And now he did get. It looked like he got pushed. He'd either practiced the hell out of that, or he was getting pushed.
Yes, because throughout the questions, he was tipping further and further forward and further backwards.
He was almost onto his tiptoes.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times in fact, once he really stumbled into his wife and nearly knocked her over, and another member of staff had to hold them up. He was quite a big guy. He was very tall and quite stocky. And he nearly crushed his wife. Bless her.
Yeah. And he actually, some of the questions were relating to his faith, wasn't it? And I think he was it a pagan? Yeah.
So they actually asked, some stuff was coming out about religion, and they stopped for a minute and said, do you mind me asking your religion? And he said, I'm a pagan. And they all went, oh, like, what does that mean? And apparently the spirit in the area that they believe is there, through doing some other investigative work, is he was murdered by a pagan, and that's why he was getting pushed so violently. The team did say they've never seen someone get pushed that violently before. They all genuinely seemed a bit creeped out and a bit like, bit much. And
following the session doing the human pendulum, the gentleman actually fell ill. He started feeling sick and lightheaded, dizzy. He had to sit down and take a break for about 10 minutes.
And where he was sitting, I was actually stood near him, and it did seem genuine. I don't think he was a paid actor as such. It did seem genuine. You could see, when someone looks and start going pale and sweaty, and it's hard to fake that stuff. Yeah. And he did look genuinely a bit shaken up.
He did, and he sat there trying to come round for 10 minutes, and he didn't feel any better, so they both left. Him and his wife had left. During the time when he was sat out away from the group, they took us into the cinema room.
Yes.
And they introduced us to the REM pod. Now, I had seen those before previously on YouTube videos, and I had seen them go off on occasions, but I was still skeptic of, can they be manipulated?
Well, we know they can be manipulated. So you can set them off with two-way radios and some other ways. So they can be faked. They are not scientific instruments.
No.
But they are tools, like everything we use. It's not scientific, not to scientific grade where it can't be manipulated. But they are tools, and they can be used for this.
Yeah, and they can help to communicate. So they'd placed one of these REM pods down in the corner of the cinema room. We were sat in there maybe 10-20 minutes, and nothing else really happened apart from that REM pod had flashed a couple times, 2 or 3 times throughout our time sat in there.
So they asked us just to sit in there, and I think there was only 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah.
Sat around the whole cinema room, and they just said, sit there for 10 minutes and see
Yeah.
if you feel anything. Now I felt nothing. It was creepy. It was like, well, I wouldn't like to be sat in there on my own, but I didn't feel a thing. Nothing.
No, and we wasn't told to ask any questions or anything. It would just sit and listen and see what could happen. The REM pod going off was strange, but again, it wasn't anything that proved this is real to us. After that, they had taken us down into where they have the room where they have all the old machinery.
Yes.
They had a table or a bench set up, and they had a Ouija board on it.
Just before you get into that, actually, I took a photograph there. I put this on the screen. I took a live photograph, and at the time they had a device set up that detects motion, and this device was going off. So I took a photograph, and I caught what I'll call a light anomaly. Some people call them orbs. Could it be a bug? Possibly. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll put that on screen and you make your mind up about that one.
Yeah, and it was strange at the time getting that on photo. But as we've come to the Ouija board, I started to get a bit nervous, I'd say, because obviously all the movies and Ouija boards are very famous, aren't they?
I was the same. I was always a bit like, oh, yeah. So you've seen these in films and on TV, and it's a bit like, oh, that's a bit of a taboo. And I've known friends, even to this day, who said they've done them when they were kids, and weird stuff happened, and now they won't have anything to do with them. Yeah. Even though they'll say, I don't believe in ghosts and the paranormal. Do you want to do a Ouija board? No, don't mess about with them. So that sort of was instilled in me a little bit.
Yeah. So it were interesting, and I guess the rest of the things the few things that had happened through the night had built up to us feeling a bit more nervous to do that. And around the Ouija board, they also had some more K2 meters, and
they had a couple of devices set around the Ouija board.
And they had moved the REM pod at this point, and they'd put it at the end of the hall where we were sat. And I was going to be skeptic about the Ouija board, thinking, oh, we're going to have other people join in. But this was near the end of the night, and
this was actually the last thing.
And we had a couple of people had left early because of what they had experienced.
Yeah, so our team had sort of thinned out.
Yeah, and it was mainly just our group left.
On the Ouija board, it was our group left, but there was the woman whose husband left, who was a little bit tipsy during the seance. So there was just basically us and her. Yeah. And I don't even think she sat on the Ouija board.
She did to begin with. Yeah, she did to begin with. But then there was too many, like, due to space, there was too many of us around the Ouija board. So I think she had a little go at the start. She did at the start, but then
5 or 10 minutes.
I think even you came off it at one point.
I did, yeah.
And
I came off it when it started to move. Well, just before it started to move, because there's it's quite a biggish area, so I wanted to get up and walk around to see if I could feel anything anywhere. Yeah. Go into the really dark corners and see if there's anything there.
Yeah. And I think it got to a point where there was just myself, I think it was Connor and Dina who were on the Ouija board left.
So it's just literally us, the people we know.
Us three and the people we can trust.
But we've always said we're not playing any tricks, or what's the point in doing this if we're going to do that? So it has to be genuine.
Exactly. So as it's just us three now on the board, and I think I can trust this not to move without it being with nobody manipulating it. It was still moving. Now the planchette was
so when this first happened, I was in another part of the room and it started moving, and I was like, oh my god, is that moving? And nobody's pushing it. I was like a bit dumbfounded. Like, I always thought someone's just going to be pushing the planchette. That's got to be. And knowing it was just them on the Ouija board and it was moving, I was just like, how do I comprehend this? It's actually moving and they're not pushing it. What is going on?
I think for me, it was strange to feel it moving, but because it was only slight jolts and it didn't go over any letters or numbers, or it didn't go over the yes or no, it didn't confirm anything for us. So I just thought it's just strange. Maybe we've just jolted it ourselves accidentally, or somehow it's happened.
And also, just to say, when Ben and the others were sat on the Ouija board asking questions, holding the planchette, again, whenever Ben asked any questions, all the devices, not just one, but every device they had, I think they had 1 or 2 K2 meters and another device, which I'm not sure the name of. If I saw it now, I'd probably know where it was, but at the time I was like, I'm not sure it was. But it had some needles and dials and stuff on it. But again, when Ben asked any questions, all the devices would get triggered and go off, and it was a bit like, what's happening here? Yeah,
that was the extra strange thing for me about doing the Ouija board, was the other devices around it going off as we're asking the questions. I would have loved to get some questions answered while we was there, and maybe looking back, it's worth us going back to the Armley Mills.
I think so.
And seeing what we can get ourselves. But the whole experience I could just only describe as strange, and it didn't answer any of my questions about, is it real, or is it not? Instead, it gave me more questions.
I think there was more questions for sure, because it was like, oh, hang on, some weird stuff's happening, but is it other people influencing it? But then we had some stuff happen and we couldn't discern that it was fake, because how would they have known the information? It was a bit like,
why are the devices going off when I ask questions? Why is it gone off randomly in certain rooms? Why has the medium told me my granddad's with me? Like,
and he's had that experience when he's younger. It's a bit strange. And just to say as well, that night during the seance, when Ben was telling the story about our granddad, I didn't actually know that, but I've got the same story.
Yeah.
And I don't actually remember this. It's something my dad's told me, but I was about the age of 7 or 8, and apparently I got up and I explained there was a man sat at the end of my bed talking to me. He was wearing green overalls, and I described him, and my dad said, that's your great grandfather, who again passed away before I was born. And I'd never seen a photograph of him, and like I said, I don't actually remember this, but apparently I got a photograph out, and I said, oh yeah, that's him. And weirdly, the woman he was married to, my great grandmother, who I spent a lot of time with when I was younger, she lived till she was 103, I think it was. I've just recently found out they used to do seances and was part of the psychic research team in Leeds. I was like, what? My Auntie Beverly, for her 100th birthday, created like a book of her life, and they're going travelling, so she's recently passed it on to me to look after. And as I was looking through it, I'd been quite young when she turned 100. So I don't actually remember everything in the book until I reread it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so strange, it's so weird.
It's just another one of those coincidences we seem to come up with a lot of the time now. So it left us with that urge to do another one, and we decided
we need more data, we need more experiences.
It's not proved it.
We've bitten into it, and we've had a little nibble, and like, there's something to this, but we need more.
Yeah,
we need more.
Yeah, and we decided we've got to do it without a group. Yeah, and
just us.
Meaning we can have our own group, but we're not booking with
a team where there's some random people and a team who are sort of taking you through the experiences. We wanted to go somewhere where it's literally just us all night, and we spend the night there, and there's nobody else.
And now that we had seen how you would go around doing an investigation, learning from the team and the different devices that they used, we decided, let's do our own one. And 30 East Drive, which will be in the next episode, was the one we decided to book, which was really good. And we'll save more about that for episode 3.
So that wraps it up for this episode.
We'll see you in episode 3.